So basically, Lee Anderton, don't make this feedback, please. Don't do that. That sounds right out of my animal house. Don't do that. He's a drug dealer. Okay, and I want this to be entertaining for you. So I'm going to come at the end of the fun. You will find out if you thought this was entertaining. Okay, does that sound fair? But you're here to support his habit, right? What? Is that chills or is that freckles? Both. Okay. All right. So let's start with the. Does that sound like a good idea? Or you want to do something else? I mean, we're going to get to hear Bernie Marsden play today. We're going to have lots of fun today. But does this sound like a good idea? All right. So what's the first wives' tale you want to go after? Tonewood. Oh boy. Who said that? Well, who said Tonewood? All right. What's the wives' tale?
Every wood sounds the same. There's no
Oh,
variation.
what bullshit! All right. So you're gonna. So all right. Here comes the argument. You're going to have a violin made in Cremona, okay? You're going to spend 100,000 pounds on it. And you're going to tell the violin maker the wood makes no difference, right?
Well, I won't, but a lot of people.
Okay, so what's the argument? The argument is that the woods don't make any difference at all, right? Okay, so let's make the guitar out of balsa wood. It won't make any difference, right? Apparently, you believe this shit on the internet? Everybody on the internet has 25 years experience. You all agree with that? Including the 14-year-old in Waco, Texas, in his underwear. And basically, I said, you know, they call it I'm seeing that they call it keyboard courage, where people will write anything that they say on the keyboard. And they said, I said, yeah, they say they're, you know, in their basement in their underwear. It says, Paul, they're not wearing underwear. So, just because they say it on the internet doesn't mean anything. It just means nothing. No matter what microphone you put on Barbra Streisand, she's not going to sound like Paul Rodgers. It isn't going to happen. It just isn't going to happen. This idea that the only thing that matters is the pickups and the tone woods make no difference at all, that's just crazy. If you have a table in your grandparents' house, been there 50 years. That table is 7% water because it has gone through a huge amount of experiences. In the summertime, where it got nice and hot and humid. In the wintertime, it was dry. Like in the summertime, you have your sponge next to the sink. In the summertime, it stays moist all summer, right? In the wintertime, it's dry within a day, right? It's hard. That's what the wood is doing. It's letting go of the water, and it's just like the sponge on your sink. And when it does that over and over and over and over and over and over again, finally, it settles down to about 7% water. Most guitars and most stores, and I'm not talking about Andertons because he knows what he's doing. Most stores are over 10%, most guitars are over 10% water. I've measured them. It's awful. And you don't think that makes a difference? You really want to buy a guitar that's over 10% water? Really? That makes no difference at all. Just watch the internet. Oh, I love arguing about this shit. So, the other one is that the pickups are the only thing that matter. The wood doesn't matter. But it's just not true. Where's that guitar? I bought a PRS. I actually bought a PRS yesterday. I searched this country for good guitars and good pedals and good stuff. And when I find something I like, I buy it because it teaches me. Yesterday I found one my own guys made that I didn't know was cool until I played it. And I went, no, I have no problem. I'm going to bring it to you. And you strum it, and you tell me if it's vibrating or not. And you tell me whether you think the wood makes a difference, and you tell everybody else in this room whether you think it makes a difference. Is that fair? All right, where's my guitar? Can I get the guitar? Blind. I'm not asking him to use his eyes to see if the guitar vibrates. I'm asking him to use his hand if it vibrates. Well, what am I going to do? Inject water with a hypodermic while he's playing it? I mean, are you kidding me? Let's just change the fretboard to balsa wood while he's playing it. I can't do that. I've done the test over and over and over again, but I can't do that in front of all y'all. All I can do in front of all y'all, because I'm from the South, is I can let him hold the guitar and see if it's vibrating in his hands, and then him look at me honestly and tell me whether or not he thinks the wood makes a difference. I'll tell you what, Let's start with you. Jesus Christ, this is killing me. Can I have my guitar? Yeah. Do you have a name? No, it's blindfold test. I'm not supposed to know. Okay, good. Are you kidding me? I don't even understand your train of logic. Are you from Scotland? Yeah.
And the people listening, people playing could.
Doesn't that make sense to you?
Yes, because they know what they're doing. I mean, as in, your perception of food changes when you know what that food is. If you know the manufacturer of the food.
Somebody gave me venison, dried meat. What do they call this stuff? Jerky?
It's an American thing.
Yeah. Deer. I put it in my mouth, started chewing it. They told me it was beef. It was deer. I spit it out as fast as I get it out of my mouth. I wasn't told what it tastes like beforehand. Just play the guitar. Is it ringing in your hand?
Yeah.
Okay. Does the woods make any difference at all?
Well, how can I tell when I've got one guitar?
All right, let's go at this a completely different way here. Let's go at this a different way. Stradivari violins. Let's go after Stradivari violins, all right? It's the oldest trick in the book. For the people who didn't see what I just did, I dropped it and they had to grab it. All right, so they say Stradivari violins sound good because of the wood that he bought that was in the salt water. It's true, there was salt water in there. They found out that there's uric acid in it. The reason they sound good is because it's got sheep's urine in it. Well, that's true. They tanned everything with sheep's urine. The reason it sounds good is the finish. You've heard all these your whole life. The reason it sounds good, the new one, is because of the fungus in the wood. As if there was more fungus in the wood in his shop than the guy down the street. What they never say is the reason Stradivarius violins sound good is because the old man knew what he was doing. You never see it printed. They always try to blame it on one thing. And I guess in the end, I've done all this testing you're talking about. When I started, I could either trust the old guitar makers who make the guitars out of rosewood and mahogany and curly maple or swamp ash or whatever it was, or I could spend 10 years testing the woods. So I didn't have 10 years to give it, so I trusted the old guys, and I did it the way they did it. And then, after we started PRS, we've been playing with other woods. And it's true, you can get woods, if they're dry and the resins are crystallized, to sound very similar. But there are real differences. And all I'm trying to do is say, is that guitar ringing?
Yeah.
All right, if I make that guitar out of wood that's got more water in it, can you imagine it might not ring as well?
Yeah.
Okay. If I make it out of different woods, do you think it might ring a little different?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I'm trying to say here. And what you're saying is I need to do a scientific test right now where I take exactly the same fretboard out of two of them, and then I take exactly the same neckline for two of them, and then I put the same curly maple tops, one stacked on top of the other on two of them, and one has a swamp ash back and the other one has a mahogany back, and then we'll test what the back difference is between mahogany and swamp ash. But I can't do that right here in front of you. But I'm telling you, I've done that. Now, we could super glue the guitar together really fast and waste everybody's time, and you still wouldn't like the answer. But am I making sense? Is this American logic or English logic? This could be really bad.
It makes sense. But the proof is mind blowing.
No, the proof is that you're sitting here. The proof is, now hang on. The proof is, let me explain what I meant by that. There used to be 12 guitar brands in the world, and 12 factories. Now there's what, 22 factories and 700 guitar brands, 600 guitar brands, 500? There's no way to weed through what happened before. And I think the world is so hungry for real information about what the real truth is, that the reason you're here and everybody else here is maybe your perceptions could be changed forever a little some way. That could twist your experience in some way. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm making a joke when you're sitting here, but the truth is, I want to learn about guitars. I learn every day. When I'm working with John Mayer, he's showing me other guitars that were supposed to do the job in the Grateful Dead, and I learned from those things. And you learn and you learn. Today we went after some experiences to learn today, right? So I think that I believe in my bones, after all my experiences of experimenting in private stock and core and everything, that the woods that you choose do make a difference in the sound. Now, the real dirty truth is, what the tuning pegs and how they're made, and the nut and how it's made, and the bridge and how it's made has more impact than the wood. Now, I can prove it to you. Would you put Strat saddles on your best Martin? Would you take the saddles off a 1963 Stratocaster, which Stevie Ray Vaughan used, and put it on your best Martin? Why not? Probably not, right?
No.
Why?
You
Because it would sound like shit. But you'll put it on your best Strat? You want to explain that one to me for a minute? We've traded in adjustability on an electric guitar for tone. We would never do that on an acoustic guitar. We put a bone saddle on because we know it sounds better. But we won't do it on electric guitar. I mean, this stuff makes my head get hot without being angry. It's just unbelievable how powerful what's going on in our industry, and people don't ask questions about why do we do this and why do we do that and why is this way and that, why is that way. So I've experimented with all this stuff, and I'm telling you, in my experience, it makes a difference. And everybody's saying it doesn't make a difference, and they have not done the experiments, and they're claiming on the internet they know better than people with the experience, is nuts. Just go ask the dog catcher how to cure your wife of cancer. It's not going to work. It doesn't make any sense. By the way, somebody in my family did get cancer, and the first thing the doctor said was, don't look on the internet, all the information's old and it's wrong. And we actually were very courageous about it. We didn't go look and try to solve the problem. We went and found an expert. The definition of an expert is somebody in a very complicated area that solves very complicated problems over and over and over again. That's the definition of an expert. And I'm suggesting real experts in the violin business, the piano business, the guitar business are going to tell you the woods do make a difference. I'm going back to his original wife's tale. You're a very interesting duck, boy. I'm not sure you believe me yet.
Well, it would all be a matter of degree because. No,
Okay, fair enough. It's a matter of degree.
An extremely good guitar compared to a Baltimore one, and there's got to be.
Well, I do the exaggeration to make a point. Otherwise, it's all subtleties. But if you make the tuning pegs out of rubber and the nut out of rubber and the bridge of rubber, you will admit it sounds like shit, right? Therefore, the materials do make a difference. Most nuts on most guitars in this industry are made out of the same thing you hook your toilet to your septic tank with. Does that sound like a good idea to you? It looks like bone. It's not. It's PVC plastic. I mean, most nuts aren't glued on. Does that sound like a good idea to you? Under a microscope, it's not touching anything. That does sound like a good idea to you? I mean, I could go on and on and on and on and on. It is a matter of degrees. It's a matter of degrees, but when you have a musician, where's Bernie? Is Bernie in this room?
Is it the bar?
All right, now hang on a minute. Bernie has a private stock version of his model up there, and he's very proud of it, and I've changed the pickups and the whole bit. Yesterday, I let him play that guitar, and he told me he was going to take it home today, and I couldn't have my guitar anymore. Anything that gives a musician a slight edge, they want. You don't think that Neil Sean's shooting guitars out, Carlos Santana's shooting guitars out, John Mayer's shooting guitars out? And John Mayer, I went into a room, I'm not exaggerating, it was as big as this thing and the ceiling was twice as high. Nothing but guitars and gear, because he's looking for unicorns, things to make his sound slightly better. So it is all a matter of degrees. You are right, but for a musician, 5% is a big deal. I mean, supposedly the solo in Comfortably Numb took him 2 weeks. I'm sure the track he did 5 minutes ago was just as good as the next one, but he kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and it gets played over and over and over and over again. So yes, it is a matter of degrees. If you steer 5 degrees off tonight on the way home, you'll get in an accident. All right. Do you argue a lot? I asked for an argument. I did. I solicited one. Not you. You have the wrong hydraulics. But I said you could play. I gave it to him.
Last time I picked up one of your guitars, it was out of tune. It's a compliment, by the way.
No, you can play it. Go on. I'm teasing. You can take it back. Go on.
I've got 17.
You don't have 18 right now. I can hear it. All right. So, we're good, right? For the moment? All right. What's the next wives' tale? Look, all right, fine. We'll go with you. So, and I saw it. So, the reason I suggested we do this is because this is the argument that's going on in the internet. It is what's going on in the world. And how to sift through this stuff, I don't look at it from being told by somebody else what to think. I look at it from all the experimenting we do at work. I mean, we experiment. And we try to stay with things that work. That's just the way it is. What's the wife's tale?
It's a wife's tale about you, not guitars, if that's all right.
I just told you I like women. What are you talking about?
That you would change the screws on the back plate to see if it changes the tone.
Oh.
I'd love to know if it's true.
What a bunch of bullshit.
That's true.
Look, when Eric Johnson takes a guitar apart, he puts the screws in a piece of cardboard so that when he puts it back together, it's the same. Because he has had the experience of taking the guitar apart, and when he put it back together, it didn't sound the same. But it turns out that if all the 6 screws at the front of the bridge on the Stratocaster are not touching the bridge, and only 4 of them are touching because the screw was turned in a slightly different place, it sounds different. But he didn't know. So he's very, very careful because he's not a guitar maker, he's a guitar player, and he wanted the guitar to sound at least as good as when he was done. The backplate screws? No. You got to be kidding me, right? I'm going to be a dolphin. No. It's just no. And then I got into this conversation with Eric, and I went, Eric, I'm the guy that puts the screws in for the first time. And he went, oh yeah, I forgot. And he's a very powerful guitar player. If you stood on this stage and played, the hair on your arms would come up. It sounds like a violinist playing. It's just unbelievable, right? But the backplate screws, no. If the backplate's rattling or making a note it's tuned to E and you're playing an F note, I could see that having some sort of thing. But I believe in physics, and I just don't see it. There are wooden backplates on that guitar that... So what I did was I just looked, and the guitar was in his hands, is no longer in his hands. He's starting to pass it around. Right. Anybody thinks that I kill him. All right, so it's got wooden backplates on it. We put plastic. I don't hear a difference. It's beautiful, but I don't hear a difference. Now, the screws that hold the bridge on, whether there's plating on it or not, or what materials are made out of it, all that I've heard of huge difference. So no, the screws in the backplate. Now, do I get accused of having dog ears and that I can hear things other people can't hear? Yes, but it's not true. I don't hear any better than anybody else. I've had ear training. I know when I hear a 100 hertz note what it is. It's like a guy who's a monitor mixer and he hears it squealing, knows immediately to put the 2.4K down because he knows the note versus the number. I've had ear training on that level. But no, what's the other thing you hear about me? That's not good enough to screws. You've got to go deeper than that.
That's the only thing I've heard on the internet.
About the screws in the backplate. No. Lots of other things make huge difference. What kind of wires on the pickup, how it's wound, what kind of potting it has, how strong is the magnet, what material is the magnet. I mean, there's millions of things that I could go over that make a difference. How well the nut's glued on, what material it's made of, how many nylon washers are in the tuning pegs. I mean, just go on and on and on and on and on and on. Oh, you don't know they put sound deadeners in most tuning pegs. But the old ones in the 50s, they didn't have them. I wonder why there was a difference. By the way, when Hendrix played The Wind Cries Mary, how old was his guitar? Which is debatably the greatest vintage guitar tone ever recorded, right? It's beautiful. How old was the guitar? Yeah, a few months old. It was a brand new guitar. And the physics on my bench are any different than the physics on that bench and there. It's not because it was old. Maybe it was because it was well made. We're going to just argue and argue and argue. So, did I answer your question? Okay, good. You had a question. It's a wives' tale. No, that's the deal. We made a deal. Did we make a deal? All right, go on, you ask.
Wives on the internet, and people keep on saying, why are you spending so much time? Guitars are dead. I know. Not me.
Guitars are, who said this?
The wives.
The wives. Are you polygamist? Seriously? The wives. You have more than one. So the wives are, wait a minute, this is some sort of global, it's my son, don't tell him my secrets, right? This is some sort of global thing where the wives of the world have decided that guitar is dead and you shouldn't pay any more attention. And you buy this.
No, of course not.
Then why are you asking me about it? Look.
Save me, Paul.
Save me. Okay, the guitar is the violin of our time. All right? When Paganini used to come to the docks in here when he was doing a concert, the whole town would show up to greet him, okay? Now it's rock stars on airplanes, right? You know, if John Mayer's going to play somewhere or Queen plays at Wembley, we all show up, right? That's the way it works. It's the violin of our time. Somebody's saying guitar is dead. Why don't you look in Vogue magazine and see if there's any guitars in the ads? It's part of our culture. It's part of the fabric of, look, England's a guitar country. Anybody from a guitar country that knows that's not true. Japan's a guitar country. You've all heard things, Benelux, those countries are guitar countries. US is a guitar country. England and Germany are guitar countries. If you're living in the middle of a guitar country, that's just crazy talk. You're female. I can prove it. I mean, come on. It's just not crazy. It's crazy talk. It's like saying somebody's got a big zit on my nose. I don't. Guitars aren't dead. Look at the room's full of people. There were people turned away. You should be shot. Next time, get a bigger room, will you? You don't want to turn people away. We're having an argument here. So, guitars aren't dead, in my opinion. This is just my opinion. Does anybody in this room think guitars are dead? Well, we killed the tree. I guess they are dead.
Well, that one's squashed then.
The piano dead.
Look, they don't make left-handed pianos. Why don't they make left-handed guitars? I don't know what. Huh?
They go on forever. The piano will go on forever, won't it?
I don't know. I thought that the scene in Star Wars, the first one in the bar, was like a prediction of what was going to happen musically. That we were going to have all these new kinds of instruments, and I don't think that we knew in 1900 that keyboards were going to be made of plastic and they were going to, have recorded tones in them and all the other things, right? You didn't put that guitar down yet. Should I change the woods, or you think it's just fine the way it is? So the guitar's not dead, in my opinion. These are only my opinions, okay? By the way, I find these conversations exhausting because what I'm trying to do is some way turn everybody's experience to look at things in a new way. I'll give you an example. I think people should buy guitars the same way women buy shoes. Bring me 10 guitars and get away from me. Right? And then you can judge your experience with those guitars. It turns out a guitar that rings for 10 seconds is nowhere near as good as a guitar that rings for 45 seconds. Because the 10-second guitar is deadening the vibration and the harmonics of the string, and the other one is not. Okay? And anybody, whether they play well or they don't play well, can experience that, because one, you're beating the crap out of the guitar and nothing's coming out of it, and the other one, you're barely touching and all this music is coming out of the guitar, right? So, for me, I would love for people to go back to that old way of buying guitars. The problem is, now with the internet, you don't get to play the 10 guitars. You get to watch 10 videos and hope to be able to decide through a video and in some sort of sound experience that you have that maybe that one is worth trying, right? Which was what we got to. We filmed a video about this exact subject earlier. So in my way, I'm just trying to warp everybody's experience in some ways. I really think I'm probably preaching to the choir. Everybody already believed all this stuff, but they wanted a little bit of argument and proof about it. I know he wanted an argument. That was easy. I was pointing at you. All right, so we're good? All right, good. All right, so somebody else have a wives' tale? Somebody in the front? Yeah. No, next. All right.
A few months ago, we had Mark Holcomb from Cricket, and he said that you talked about putting stainless steel frets in his SE model because he said it didn't make enough of a difference. I might have gone that the wrong way around.
Okay. Mark Holcomb is a gifted guitar player in a new band called Periphery, and he came here and I talked him out of the stainless steel frets.
I think that's what he said.
And the reason was because what?
I'm going to get this wrong now. You talked him out of it because it didn't make enough of a difference to warrant upping the price of his model.
I'm swallowing really hard. Okay, so let's do this. I don't know enough about stainless steel frets to be able to make a judgment. Nickel silver has no silver in it. So most fret wire is made of nickel. Stainless steel is made mostly of nickel. They're very, very close. One turns a greenish color in a really humid summer, and the other one stays the same color. When I hold stainless steel frets, they don't bend as well as the other ones. They're much stiffer. And it worries me that in a production environment, I'm going to have little gaps underneath the fret wire, which I don't really want to have. I don't have enough experience to know whether or not it's better or not. But I do know that if you get the open string with the nut and the bridge to sound right, that the first and the second fret sound the same, which means the fret wire doesn't make any difference at all. All right? And so what I explained to Mark was it's not going to make a big enough difference to go through that much pain. And I didn't have enough experience to do that. That's what happened. And he believed me, unlike some of the people in this room earlier. Because he needed an instrument that he could put his name on that was an SE instrument or a core instrument that he would not have to worry about and go out and play. He didn't want to just put his name on something. He wanted to use these things. And believe me, you got a rock star with 20 guitars in the rack, they're going to go for the guitar that makes them the most comfortable. And he didn't want to be uncomfortable. When John Mayer's working on this amp, he doesn't want to just put his name on the amp. He wants it until it's better than everything else he has. And I've been doing shootout after shootout after shootout with his old amps to make sure that he's happy. So I don't know enough about stainless steel wire. I do know it's very, very stiff. I would like the frets that we use to never corrode, but I'm worried about some of the other parts, and I haven't done the homework yet. This market is headed for slanted frets and stainless steel fret wire. But it's not being pushed by the guitar makers, it's being pushed by the customers. Do you want me to change the frets on that Magic guitar to stainless steel, or should I leave it alone? You're perfectly happy with my guitar. What did you say?
Without stainless steel frets, I don't know.
I think it's not stainless frets. Lee, it's not a bad idea, right?
The stainless steel fret problem is the wire's so hard that unless people were to manufacture the fret with the actual curvature of the fretboard,
Which they do.
I thought most frets just...
No, it comes with a radius in it.
What I mean is if you have a compound radius fretboard where the radius changes from one to the other...
We don't use compound radiuses.
That's where we've seen the problems, is manufacturers who use compound radius. And then what happens is the fret has a certain radius in it, which they then try to hammer into a fretboard with a different radius. And whereas a nickel fret will bend and it's okay, but the stainless steel one pops out.
Okay, go there.
That's
All right, so he's got more experience about the compound radius. I stay away from compound radiuses. If you own a 1959 Les Paul that's worth 350,000 quid, are you going to change it to a compound radius because it's better, or when you get a refret, you just leave it alone? Probably leave it alone, yeah. All right, so there's another wives' tale. Somebody else with a wives' tale? Maybe we should call it a husband's tale. Maybe it shouldn't be a wives' tale. In the very, very back.
The age of the guitar.
Huh?
The age of the guitar. I played my friend's 61 Strat, and it sounded a lot better than my modern day Strat. Is that just me, or is that true that the wood makes a difference with the age? And
Wow.
it sounded massive. It sounded
okay, so let's go through it. Let's go through it.
Okay.
The tuning pegs are made differently.
Yeah.
On the new tuning pegs, they have all these nylon washers in them, and the gear is made of brass, and the worm is made of steel. On the old ones, the worm is made out of brass, and the gear is made out of brass. Okay. Second, a lot of these tuning pegs, it looks like it's a brass shaft, but it's not. The new ones have a steel shaft, and I notice a real lack of low end when you have a steel shaft on it. Okay. The nut material is not bone on your new Strat, and it's not glued in. Take it off, or take it to a repairman, and you can have that. That makes a difference. The saddles are made of a different material. They're a different hardness. They're usually probably a different curvature. The bridge is made differently. I'll bet there's 2 screws holding the bridge on your new Strat, or 6 on the old one.
I don't know, to be honest.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. I think the list of differences is so long, we could spend the next half an hour just going over them. All right? And then you do the internet thing, which is hang on a minute. It's only the wood. And I'm suggesting it's not only the wood. Maybe it's got to do with the paint. Maybe it's got to do with the way the pickups will run. Maybe it's got to do with the value of the pots. Maybe it's got to do with how hard the pickguard is. If you have a really soft vinyl pickguard and the 61 Strat is a really hard pickguard, don't you think it might make a difference because that's the surface where it's resonating? It just goes on and on and on and on. And we blame it on one thing, but guitars are a very, very complicated equation, and it's not just one thing. And I would not know as much about this as that I'm spewing out in a very short period of time, except I've had to make artists who play Strats really happy. And they'll bring their 61 Strat and they go, you gotta make this, you gotta sound better than this. So it's not just one thing, it's not. And the fact that you know that the old guitars sounded completely different than the new guitar, I'm suggesting they sounded different the day they were made. I'm suggesting if your new guitar is a year old and that in 1962 there was a huge difference. That's what I'm suggesting. And the fact that you can hear there's a difference and you experience there's a difference, that's where you should live. And you should go search this country for one that we have the same experience of a 62 Strat. How many guitars do you own?
10.
Well, why don't you sell them all by a 62 Strat?
I wouldn't have enough money. I wouldn't have enough. I'd be nowhere near.
I'm not so sure. You can buy a refinned 62 Strat for about 6,000 quid, right? 7,000 quid.
Really?
Yeah.
I was thinking more like 20, but I would.
Well, his was a refinished. I mean, you have to find one that's been played with a little bit. If somebody had taken and put in a different treble pickup in it, and then they put original pickguard in it, the guitar's not worth anywhere near the original, but it didn't really hurt the guitar. Now, I would rather you go find a PRS DC3 and shut up.
Do you think there's any merit in the level of expertise at a ludiary level? Like the average guy working on the Fender line now, would that guy in the 50s and the 60s, would he have been a more talented?
No. These people in these factories want to do exactly what they're asked to do. We both have employees. Your employees want to do what you want them to do. If you ask them to do the wrong thing, they'll do it, mostly. No, I don't think so. I think that the parts that were given to Final Assembly in the 50s or different parts that are given to Final Assembly now at Fender, and he's having a different experience. And that is exactly where I want the whole room to go when you leave, which is I'm saying it's not just because it's old. I'm suggesting that guitar sounded that way within the first half a year, or maybe the first day.
I couldn't comment, I wasn't born.
I don't want to admit that. I was born in 1956, which makes me 61. And in my old shop, those old guitars were coveted by the musicians because they had a different experience playing them than the new ones. That was, you can buy a 1969 Stratocaster, and it's covered in polyester, but it's the same tooling as a 1966. You take the polyester off and get somebody to put nitro on it, you have the tooling for an earlier guitar. A 1969 Telecaster bass neck is the same tooling as a 1953 Precision bass neck. It's the same exact tooling. And if you get yourself an early 50s body and put it on and get the polyester off it, you got yourself a bass. I mean, it's not well understood that a Mustang pickup is exactly the same pickup as a Strat pickup, except it has a few less turns, and they put a plastic cover over it. Take the cover off, add a few turns, and you got an old Strat pickup. People throw them away. The magnets in a Telecaster bass pickup are the same length as a treble pickup, but because they put that big metal cover on it, it doesn't sound very good. Take the metal cover off, the bass pickup on a Tele sounds pretty good. And it's not well understood, these things. But I'm telling you that you could trade all your guitars in, and I could find you something in the hall. But if you want a Strat, and you want a 62 Strat, you can search and find one that's been messed with that's just as good. They're called players' guitars. They call them players' guitars, right?
Modern ones.
No, I'm saying a 62 Strat that's not worth its finished value that's been messed with. They're called players' guitars, right? I mean, I talked to Neil Schon the other day on the phone. That guitar that he played in Journey all those years had a PAF in the treble position. It was a different year neck, a different year body, and it didn't have any vintage value because it had been a whole bunch of different years of parts. But he got $50,000 for it because he played it. So that was cool. So that one would be out of bounds. Why don't you just go find that 62 Strat and take out a loan?
I couldn't part with my other guitars.
Huh?
I couldn't part with my other guitars.
Who has it?
I couldn't part with my other guitar. I've had it too long. It's become a part of me. Get the violin out.
I'll trade you this for all 10 guitars. I can give you my Strat.
No, everybody else wants the deal.
So,
You're attached to the guitars.
Yeah, I love
The look on your face is like you're not ripping them out of my dead hands. That's good. This is positive. But if you want the experience of that other guitar and you're not getting it from the present day stuff, you're going to have to figure out how to fix it. Actually, Fender Custom Shop's doing a pretty good job right now. Maybe you can find one of those.
My mate's actually making me a copy of a Fender.
Why are you sitting at PRS place? Why is he here? What did you do, man? What happened? Why did you allow him in the room?
I'll call security.
You're the security. But okay, so my goal today is to try and change your mind a little bit. And I'm telling you, there's not one difference. There's probably 100 differences. That's what I'm telling you. Okay. So somebody else had their hand up. That was you. He said this is a contentious one.
Apart from the cost of production in individual countries, is the price difference between a budget range or a more affordable range and the top of the range actually justified? Because you think all price ranges, but is that difference actually justified beyond, say, the cost of production in the country and potentially the materials used?
It's a very cool question. I'm not offended by the question at all. I'm trying to figure out how to answer it. The truth is, it's almost to the penny accurate in price. Right? So, one get you. In America, we have this thing in Baptist Church where we testify. Yeah, you're going to testify now. Okay? You're going to testify. Okay. So, when we sell you an SE and you sell it, you're not really going to get 100 quid more for it just because we set the price too low or too high. The people in this room know what the guitar is worth over a long period of time, and they're not going to give you more or less. Or there are times where you have guitars in stock and they go, I won't give you that for it, I'll give you less for it. I mean, you guys set the price more than you have any idea. Will you pay as much money for a guitar made in Korea as you'll pay for a US made guitar? Yes or no?
No.
No. You're already starting down this road. So, we do as much as we possibly can do to get the SE guitars to be as good as we can possibly make them for the money, okay? The weird part is I could go into that Korean factory and teach them how to make those if I could get the raw materials. You got to admit, that curly maple top is going to cost me more money than the veneer on the top of the SE guitar, okay? Huh?
That's what I'm saying.
Did you know that some of the guitars that have the curly maple tops aren't curly maple? It's a piece of a cloth that's been printed on. Did you know that? Huh?
Photo flame stuff.
Yeah. that's okay, because you got a beautiful guitar, and if the bass of the guitar sounds good, and you got your money's worth, and you can play a gig on it, and that's what you could afford, it's fine. Look, we make SEs that are made in Korea, right? We make our S2 line, which is 2/5 the money of the other American guitars. We make Cs, which are 3/5 the money. We have our core guitars, we have artist back, we have private stock. That's the private stock. Had I picked up an S2 that I saw it sounded that good, or vibrated that well, I would have paid for that too. I'm always looking for instruments regardless of who made them. If I found a 62 Strat, or he was selling me his other Strat, and I liked it better than anything I owned, I would try to rip it out of his dead hands. He's not going to sell anything. You ever heard of this word flexible? You might want to be a little more flexible.
I sold my own sports car to keep my guitar.
What?
I sold my own sports car to keep my guitar.
Congratulations. Really? No. All right. So the answer is, people long-term don't give any more money than something's worth. They just don't do it. And whatever it is, Pet Rocks or Lamborghinis or whatever it is, the market will eventually set the price. And that's just the way it works. And there's something called a magic price, right? So it's like on a curve. It goes up. I'll pay this much here. We pay that much here. You pay that much here. It's like my watch. I'll give you for $5. Okay, $10?
No.
Okay, I went over the magic price. $6? Okay, $7? $8? Okay, so there's the magic price. It goes up and up and up and up. Honk, no more. That's the way it works. And you've seen this a million times, right? So you'll give me $7 for my... I like this watch. You can't have it. I'm going to be like him in the back. You can't keep holding it. You have to pass it along. Who wants it? Not you, your son. All right, so we're having a good argument, yeah. It's in the front. I didn't mean to make everybody turn around for so long.
Hello again, Paul. I've had 70 guitars in my 70 years and 6 of yours. Listening to Tone Woods, I thought you talked about those times. I've recently bought 2 James Trussards and they sound amazing. And they're made out of steel. Why?
Well, if you put a string between 2 big steel clamps on a milling machine and you hit the string, it's going to vibrate. Steel's not a bad thing to make a guitar out of. It's fine. Is it heavy? Is it hollow?
Yes.
That's good, because if it wasn't hollow, you wouldn't have said it wouldn't be right? I have no problem with guitar makers making good guitars. It's fine with me. And if you like that better than your PRSs, sell them. I don't like the average 70 versus 6. I didn't do my job. Can we? Would you please bring that guitar up and put that guitar up? Hang on a minute. Then you can get a steel sound out of this shit here. Here. I'm sorry, I got an argument on my hands. Is Bernie still drinking? You know, there's a new thing called curly steel. Did I answer your question?
No. When I saw them in Guitar in Epsom, and when I saw the truss, I took it and I thought, this is going to sound like a dog brew. It's going to sound crap, and it sounded amazing.
And I said, I thought your experience was correct, and I agreed with you, and I thought it was a good idea. What question did you ask me that I didn't answer? Why are you wearing a PRS shirt? That's not right.
I'm a PRS member.
Well, you just said you were, how do you pronounce the guy's name?
Do you know him?
No, I've not met him.
Oh, I like good guitar makers, so you can send him my way.
Yeah, he's brilliant.
Right, so what question do you have?
I didn't think it would work being steel, and it sounds amazing. I don't know
Well,
what.
that's a statement. That's not a question. Okay. And I'm saying, in my opinion, it sounds like your experience is accurate.
Loads of people can't.
Okay, good. And he's got a career going. He's selling guitars. That's good. I like that. I would much rather that than somebody selling a really bad guitar and charging too much money for it, and somebody ends up selling it immediately on eBay because they're disappointed, like his Strat in the back. But he won't let it go. He loves it.
So are you going to make me a steel guitar?
No. Have you ever noticed we make wood guitars? Now, we did make some guitars with big half-inch by half-inch by 18-inch long pieces of graphite out of satellite graphite, and the stuff rang like a bell. Ding! And I took the truss rod out and put a strength rod in like an old Martin. It was wonderful. The market said, these are some of the best. Is that for me or for you? You get 2? I'll get one for the next video. Yeah, but it's not made out of steel. It's crap. Come on. It can be fixed. No. What are you going to do? Like burn it and like copy it with a laser and make it? Listen, I answered your question. You didn't ask a question. You made a statement. That's not fair. All right. So who else has a wives' tale? Yeah.
You touched on it a little bit earlier, but how much of a difference does paint make to the guitar? Especially considering, I might be wrong, but nitrocellulose is banned in some parts of America, correct?
Nitrocellulose is banned in some parts in America.
There's a certain paint that might be wrong with the paint in certain states. How much difference does paint make to the guitar?
Okay, look. The word nitrocellulose comes from putting cellulose, a tree, into nitric acid. Nitrocellulose. The way they made nitrocellulose in the 50s is these guys in barns would take cotton, which is cellulose, and stick it into nitric acid, and a goo would come out, and then they would mix it with something called coconut alkyd, which was from the shells of coconut shells so that it didn't crack. And they would add thinners to it, and then they would add plasticizer, which is non-drying oil. It's the same oil they put in the clear caulk around your bathtub that never gets hard. The reason it never gets hard is because it's full of clear oil that never dries, okay? When you buy nitrocellulose, it's a cocktail. It's like going to the bar and saying, I want a beer. And by the way, I want a beer. I mean, you guys are going to drive me to drink. Isn't this St. Patty's Day? Yeah, it's time to drink. All right, so I said, is it okay to drink Jameson on St. Patty's Day to an Irishman today? He said, by law. So anyway, so I've taken nitrocellulose off other people's guitars, and underneath it had vinyl sealer, which was almost like rubber that you make the siding on houses out of in America. And then it was really mealy, really rubbery material on the top because they put so much so much plasticizer and it was never going to get hard. And the reason they do that is if Lee ships a guitar that cracks, you ship it back and say bad guitar. But if it's a 1950s guitar that didn't crack, you know it's a refit, right? So it's not so simple, this whole thing about finish. In my experience, how thick it is number one, and how hard it is number two. And on these old violins, those varnishes have turned into a polyester resin. And polyester has a bad name in our industry, but you wouldn't want to change the finish on an old Stradivarius. So it's not so simple. It's a cocktail. It's like going to the bar and ordering a beer. You could get a million different kinds of beer, a million different kinds of nitro, a million different kinds of acrylic urethane, a million different kinds of poly, how much hardener's in it. It just goes on and on and on and on. It's a cocktail. It's a complete cocktail. And I have struggled in my career understanding this chemistry. I'll give you an example. Leo Fender was not a chemist. When he wanted paint, he went down to the street to the GM dealership, which was the car dealership, and he got all the colors. They were GM car colors. So if somebody needed a color, he would just go down the street and buy a German beer. This is a Holland beer. Is that acceptable? It's a Dutch beer. Thank you. Don't you guys make good beer in this country? So what's the stuff with the nitrogen?
No idea.
Yeah, you do. Guinness.
Oh, Guinness, well, that's not made in, but
That's a
it's
stout.
No. I'm just trying to figure out if you make any good beer. You hand me something from another country. In America, this beer thing is nothing but craft breweries everywhere. You know, it is brewed.
I've no idea what kind of art, but we can find out afterwards.
Thank you for the beer.
You're very welcome.
Okay, good. This don't taste like Guinness. This doesn't taste like, and hardly, this tastes like Heineken, right? It's not my favorite beer, but it works. Same thing with finishes. If it's really thick and soft, it's going to have an effect on the tone. If it's really thin and hard, it's going to have an effect on the tone. So, once again, if it's really thick and it's really, if you can dig your fingernail into the finish and it dents easily, be scared. Has anybody, you've had a guitar come in the store in which the finish was so soft you could dig your thumbnail in it, right?
I could do that to any of the custom shop stuff we've got.
What was custom shop, that doesn't mean private stock, that means some other company, right? Okay, different brand. Okay, good. You're dangerous. All right, so the finish does make a difference. So what is the reason they put finish on instruments? Why do they do it? Why don't you just leave them wood?
That's the question.
Huh? That's a question. I'm asking him a question. I'm asking you a question. Ooh, in my town, they don't say ask, they say axe. So, why? Okay, one, to protect the wood from the oils and the sweat, and to make it look better. It was never invented to make the instrument sound better. It was invented to protect it and make it look better. Fair enough? Did I answer your question? Now I'm going to start interviewing everybody about whether I answered the question. Is this entertaining or should I change subjects? I mean, when you get bored, we'll just get Bernie to play and I'll be done. Is Bernie out of the bar yet? Okay. I see. Yeah.
Opinion on rich light fingerboards. No one's mentioned that yet. Do you think that people are quite happy by rich light fingerboards as opposed to rosewood?
What's a rich light fingerboard?
So it's a paper compound alternative to Andertons, another brand.
So they're not using wood, they're using laminated phenolic paper, basically.
Yeah, it's, I don't know the scientific structure of it, but it is an environmentally friendly alternative that looks and feels pretty similar to
Paper's made out of trees.
exactly.
You know they had to make an exception for cardboard for all this stuff going back and forth because they were trying to get paperwork for everything made from the environment, and they had to make an exception for cardboard because cardboard, under the rules, is a environmentally dangerous product.
I like the gentleman's question. If I could expand on that, because I think it is an issue. It's fair to say that rosewood, ebony, some of the mahogany that's used are becoming shorter supply.
No, they're not.
They're not?
No, what they're becoming is more paperwork with the government.
Okay, but do you ever foresee a time where we will just have to accept that certain guitars to hit certain price points or whatever have to be made from things that just aren't wood? And is that when you're done, retired? Well, yeah, I mean, steel, that's just a choice, isn't it, of a designer that's tried to do something different. The rich light is through necessity, I think, rather than just because a designer got less.
All right.
See what happens.
The answer is I don't know what's going to happen. We have this guy named Trump running our country.
Brazilian rosewood, chop it down.
No, he wants to get the rules to go away.
That's what I mean.
No, he's backwards.
Yeah.
Obama's making rules. This guy's cutting the rules up, right?
Yeah.
But, so I don't know what effect that's going to have. Look, I went to India to find out where the rosewood comes from. So I don't have any experience with this, what would you call it? Rich light. I have no experience with it. okay? But I couldn't, in my experience, charge you for a beautifully custom-made guitar and put a paper fretboard on it and try to say that it's for the environment when the rest of the guitar is made out of wood, right? Okay. I went to India, and this is the way the Indians, the people in India, not American Indians, but the Indian people deal with the rosewood. They don't cut new trees down. They have these things called monsoons in India, and when they blow the trees down, they collect them and bring them to a tiger reserve, which was interesting to me all by itself. And they auction the trees off, and the government does it. They're very, very protective. It's all reclaimed, blow down, dead trees. The East Indian rosewood coming out of Indonesia is all plantation wood that was planted to cover their coffee and some of the palm oil stuff that they were doing. So almost all East Indian rosewood from that part of the world is reclaimed wood, almost all of it. I don't see a problem with that. It either rots on the jungle floor or they auction it off. I was there. It just didn't seem like an issue. And I saw from my own eyes the trucks coming in and people unloading them and selling them to the government. The government auctions off and they get a percentage of the auction money. And that seemed fine to me. If I have that option and a good relationship with those people and I can get the paperwork from them and I can get the paperwork to ship it here and you have good CITES paperwork on the guitar and I'm playing by the rules, that seems fine to me. Now, if they make ebony CITES 2 and they've changed, it used to be CITES 2, which is mahogany, I needed paperwork to ship it into my country but not out. But now they're changing the rules, I need to ship it in and ship it out. So it's made more work for the government. By the way, the rules were not made by the U.S. government. CITES is international, and all the governments had to run really quickly to by the law. They were forced to do it in a 4-month period. They didn't have people to do it. How long do you think the movie line was for people trying to get paperwork for their woods that they had? They didn't have enough people to do it. We were the first people to go to them and go, what are we going to do? They said, we don't know, we need your help. And they showed all these people that were behind the curtain, like in The Wizard of Oz. And all of a sudden they were sitting in my office and we were talking about solutions to this immense problem. Do you have a paper fingerboard guitar that you like the sound of?
No, I tried them and I thought, no, I'm spending that amount of money on a guitar that's got, which is not a real good fingerboard.
Okay, then you answered your own question.
I just tried that.
No, you were going after a controversy in Wivesdale, which is what I asked you to do. And I burped twice since I started drinking this beer. Is Bernie still not here? I think we should introduce Bernie Marsden to everybody else. All right, so did I answer your question? Kind of. I don't know what's going to happen long term, but right now it's dealable with. If it becomes untenable, we'll figure something out. What? You're pointing at a stage. Is it a ghost? Hi, Bernie. How you doing? There he is. It's Bernie Marsden, everybody. So, do you have a copy of his book?
Hello.
Can I have a copy? So Bernie's just come out with a book, and the artwork on the front was done by David Smith, the great English artist, who did the Jameson bottle and all the other stuff that John Mayer cover and the cover of our CD. And I introduced you an Englishman, and you went and snitched his art straight away. That's right. And it's got all the stories for Whitesnake and for UFO and what were the other bands that you played in? Go on.
Oh, so long ago. Wild Turkey, Babe Ruth, Cozy Palm, and lots more. Oh, hello, Steve. All right.
Anyway, are you selling copies of your book?
I have, the first time tonight, I have copies, and you guys are the first people in the world to be able to buy them. Isn't that amazing?
Okay. Can I buy one?
No, you got one. No, you get one. You're in it, so you're
No, I didn't. You might look, my picture's not in there.
no picture. No, I thought better of it.
So let me tell you what's been going on here, Bertie. We've been going after wives' tales. Do the woods make a difference? So let me just ask you. You haven't heard these. You haven't been privy to these conversations, all right? Do the woods and the kind of woods in a guitar make a difference in the sound of the guitar? Yes or no? No. You hear it, you leaned over, he says, I was listening. I was thinking, you Boston, right?
Yes, they do. Yeah.
Does it make a difference if you use a paper fingerboard or a wood fingerboard?
Yes, it does.
What were the other ones?
What do I win for this?
What was your question? No, he bought a steel guitar. He said it sounded beautiful, and he accused me of not answering his question, but all he did was make statements.
Right. You should come to clinics more often. You get called like that. That's right. Steel guitars, I mean, they do what they do.
And this gentleman, raise your hand. That's right. This guy right here. He's saying that unless we do a test of all the woods in a guitar and only change one at a time, we don't really know what the difference is. And I was suggesting that he's right, but there's no way I could do that at this clinic. And we just kept going at it until...
Well, we played and played different guitars and got different guitars off the wall, didn't we? You mean the ones back in November, right? Yeah. And everyone that came up was suffering from certain things that only he really notices. And then when he points it out, it's so obvious. But everyone had a problem, and then we just A-B'd them against each other. And
he's talking about the testing that I was saying that we do. Right?
Yeah.
So who has a question? By the way, they've been taking the guitar around. Because woods don't make any difference in guitars, and so I thought I'd pass it around. Wouldn't it? There's a guy in the back. There's a guy in the back who who played a 62 Strat, and he bought a new Strat, and he said they sound different, and it's only the woods. And I was trying to explain it was the tuning pegs, the nut glue, the bridge, all the other stuff. Have you had this experience where you have like new ones and old ones, and you wish the new ones sound like an old one?
no, I just use the old ones.
But mostly you play a PRS, no? That's
Give me a guitar at the factory, and then I love it and use it all the time. He'll call me up and say, bring it over. I've got some things to do on it. And I say, no, it's fine. I love it. It's really good. He takes it away and says, I promise you it will be better. And it always is. It's sickeningly good. It's good. I don't know what you do. Well, I don't know what you do because you won't tell me.
Well, I mess with the tuning pegs, and I mess with the nut, and I mess with the bridge, and I mess with the pickups. And sometimes I'll mess with a round over on the neck so that it feels more comfortable.
Messed up the pickups with my guitar really nicely. That was a real good mess. When we changed them over. Good.
So Bernie has about, what, 500 different stories that you could tell from the band days? And you've told about 200 of them in the book?
There's a lot of, there's a lot of stuff.
Is there a story you're willing to share that's not in the book?
About guitars?
About anything?
Oh, no.
Well, your daughter's here, is that why? Come on, you got
an alternative book of that, so we won't go there.
So what? No, I wasn't going there. Why don't you tell a story about a guitar from your? Did you used to buy them on the street? What was the
Denmark Street.
Yeah. Why don't you tell a Denmark Street story? Something they can relate to.
I'll tell you what happened. It is in the book, and it's kind of briefly mentioned. You people of a certain age know that Gary Moore and I, we went back a long way together, and we knew each other when we were kids. And he got a lot of stick about when he traded his, he got the Les Paul from Peter Green. Do you know about that story? And the deal was that he would sell his SG, he had an SG standard thing, and whatever money he got for that guitar, he would give to Peter, and he would give him the fabled Les Paul at that time. So I was in Guitar Village, and that was in Shaftesbury Avenue, which is just around the corner. On the day it happened, and he came and he was all excited and said, I'm going to get the Peter Green Les Paul. Subsequently, he got a lot of sticking papers from various sort of these days. There was no such thing as vintage guitars when I was much younger. They were either used second-hand or just old guitars. There was no such thing as a vintage guitar. But he did get that, and a lot of people said, oh, well, yeah, Gary Moore ripped him off, and he did this. And of course, Gary didn't come back now and state his side of the case. So I was there, and I know what happened. It was all as reported. And he did that until I think the guy from Metallica has that guitar. Is that right?
So why did Peter want him to have it?
Peter didn't. Peter being as he is now, he was then. He was don't want him. And it said to Gary that, you know, if ever I do so, you can have it. And Gary said, well, I could never afford it, because in those days you had to pay nearly 300 quid for an original Les Paul. $500.
How much did you pay for the piece?
Well, I paid a lot of money for that. I paid £500.
Seriously?
Want to buy it, Lee? He played it a lot. But that was a lot of money. I mean, I know it's a bit of a cliche, but those days you could walk into the guitar stores in the West End and you'd have a row of Les Pauls and Stratocasters, and you think, well, that one's far too expensive. I can't afford £250 for a pretty good-looking Les Paul. And they say, this one's in great condition, this one's $350. And I passed on a Flying V that was in the store for ages. That was done then, it's even double done now. And I found out that Mick Ralphs was going to buy it, who was a close mate of mine. And it was in the store, and every time I went into Top Gear in Denmark Street, we used to take it off the wall, and you'd sit down with it, and this thing would slide off your knee all the time. Bloody awkward thing this is. So we'd put it back on the wall, and Mick would come in, unknown to me, the next day, and he would do the same thing. It's pretty uncomfortable, this thing, put it back. But they said, well, one of you will buy it. And in the end, they got fed up, and it was £599. And they called it then the Guitar of the Year. And that was outrageous. That was another 150 quid more than standard. So I said, I was going to buy that. And then they reduced it. And then they phoned me. I lived in Shepherd's Bush, and Mick did as well. And they phoned us both and said, Bernie's coming in to buy it. Mick's coming in to buy it. And I had to go to my label. I was with UFO. But I had to go to my label to get an advance somewhere, because I was getting like nothings a week and stuff. I said, but I told them I'd broken my guitar and I needed a guitar for the next week. Can I have an advance? And they said, yeah, you'll have to come in and get the money though. By the time I'd gone to Oxford Street to get the money, Mick had been in, because he was in Mott the Hoople and he was like relatively rich compared to me. And he bought it. And I got there and said, I'll have the V. And I went, no, you won't. And he said, Ralph's bought it an hour ago. So he sold it as well. And then we found out after that was the first Flying V ever made. But I'm not bitter. Mick sold it for a lot more than $4.99 or whatever. So I have a Flying V story you may have not heard. I'm sitting with Ted McCarty in Hawaii. He lived in Maui half the year, and he lived in Kalamazoo half the year. And I'm sitting with him at lunch, and he leans over to me in this kind of gruff voice. He goes, I just saw a bar in the shape of a failure. Huh? I just saw a bar in the shape of a failure. I interviewed him, and basically he said he had been in a Hard Rock cafe, and the bar was the shape of a Flying V. I said, oh, Ted, that wasn't a failure, it's a legend. He says, I made 40 of them. They wouldn't buy anymore. It was a failure. As far as he was concerned, making 40 prototypes and selling them and not getting any reorders was a complete failure. I said, oh, it's become a complete legend. He goes, I said, why'd you do it, Ted? Well, Leo was talking a bunch of trash about us, so we were a bunch of old fogies, couldn't do anything new, so I did it to shut him up. And I said, did it work? He said, yeah, it worked great. That's a true story. So, here's another one. You remember the SG Les Paul with the P90s in it that Townsend used on the early Who records? He sold that to Chandler's Guitars. And I bought it from Chandler and gave it to Ted McCarty because he told us he didn't have an old Les Paul. And there wasn't a dry eye in the entire factory when we gave him the guitar because he said he didn't have one. And we gave him that guitar. When he died, there was an old Les Paul in his attic. It's a true story. Yeah. So I went to his 90th birthday, and I said, where are all your friends, Ted? He says, they all died. I had to trade them in on 7-year-olds. He had outlived everybody
he grew up with. All of them, every single one. And you know, it was fascinating. And the stories he told about where the humbucking pickup came from. So where'd that come from, Ted? He said, well, I told my engineer I needed a pickup to buck the hum. That was a guy named Seth Lover. That was his engineer. And he did what every single engineer was taught in college, which is if you want to get rid of the hum, you put two out-of-phase coils out-of-phase together, and you put it in a mu metal can, which you know is what they do in consoles for the mic pre's, right? That's what the cover was. The coils inside of humbucking was never supposed to see the light of day, so they didn't care whether they put cream ones or black ones or two creams in there. They were just going to cover it up with the cover. The cover wasn't designed to fit the ring. The ring wasn't designed to have these two big gaps around it and the whole thing.
I've been told on numerous occasions though that the cream humbuckers are louder. and you have to go, really? I said, oh, definitely. No. It's been proved that the white plastic is louder. Actually, so here we go. It might be, and let me tell you what. They changed from Alnico 2 over to Alnico 4 in '59, and it was stronger, and it made them louder. So the pickups in your guitar might be cream.
I was at the Beast. I took the Beast into Kalamazoo and they checked it out and I said, well, these pickups are really loud. And I had another standard at the time, so it was almost half as loud again. And then the woman said, well, go ask Dolores over there. She's been there since 1943. And there was this elderly lady who had been winding pickups for 50 years or whatever. And I said, is there what's this mythology about them? And she said, what? She's about a woman from Kalamazoo. And she said, oh, hell shit. She said, we probably went for lunch, and when I came back, we wound them again.
Makes sense.
Makes sense?
That was a trip, though. That was, you know.
So, look, I'm telling you, we've measured these things as magnets are stronger.
You know.
Well, I sent you a set of them for that guitar.
Which was in the sleeve of the case for 6 months, and he said, do you like the new pickups? And I went, what new pickups? And he said, well, I won't tell you what he said, but he wasn't happy because, well, Trump had just been elected as well. So it was a bad day for him.
I never said that. I didn't say that. You're a liar. I didn't say it was a bad day.
No, you were having it.
I didn't say I was having a bad day.
When we went to the hotel.
It was all the Germans in the restaurant crying that morning I found interesting.
When we went out that night, it was like it was a done deal, wasn't it?
Wow. All right, so you have a question for Bernie or for me?
Well,
We have a legend here.
yes, I know. I wanted to know, all your guitars, with the exception of those P90s, seem to be humbucker based.
Yeah.
Do you actually have a feeling against single coil pickups?
No. And no, I love single coils. The problem is, if you don't have enough signal-noise ratio, the hum in a bad club is louder than the guitar. Has anybody ever experienced that, where the hum in the guitar was louder than the guitar? Has anybody ever had that experience? I know you have. But nobody's raising their hand. So I can get hands to raise, okay? Let's go after this. How many people in this room have had a guitar they loved and they should have never sold it and regretted selling it ever since they sold it? Now we get some hands up, okay? How many people have run across a magic guitar and you should have bought it and you walked away and regretted it the rest of your life? All right, now we go. How many people have played a single coil guitar in a club and the noise was louder than the guitar? A few people, right? I got a few hands, right? So the problem is you need a lot of signal-noise ratio. And the reason these people like 63 and 64 Strats is those pickups were louder than the earlier Fenders, and they didn't hum as much. Not because they didn't hum as much, but because the pickup was actually putting out more output. So I have a zero problem with it. I've had so many experiences with guitars that are humming so badly that you can't use the guitar. I tend to stay away from them because it becomes unusable for the artist. Now, we just got the rights to record, of all things, Machine Gun from the Experience Hendrix. And there's videos online of us recording it. I'm using a DC3, which is a single coil guitar, because that was the best way to get the tone. It took me a year to find the right univibe for it, and I built 2 amps that were wired exactly like his old, by the way, he played super 100s. He didn't play super leads. the ones with the white plastic in the back, which isn't well known. You have one of those stuffed away in your house?
No, I did have one, but I traded it for a new one.
I know you did that then. You didn't buy the Flying V either.
I'm getting myself in big trouble here. But I've got a few things not.
But you never did say whether the Beast had white pickups.
I don't know, I'm at the cutoff.
I'll take them off if you want. I'll tell you if the white plastic is louder. All right, so, no, I have nothing against them. I just don't want musicians to have trouble. Now, a lot of people don't know that a real PAF sounds like a Strat pickup. Here, why don't you give me the guitar? I'm going to plug it into this amp and let you hear what I'm talking about, okay? Thank you. Can I just hold this for a second? And now.
Becoming less and less with changes in the use of lighting and powering systems.
My experience is getting worse.
Right.
If in a club, one of the hot wires is hooked to any of the pipes in the lighting system, your guitar will just go, oh, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Lighting has always been a problem with Strats. And also, they're very, it sounds kind of funny, but it's not. In front of Hammersmith Odeon is, they pick up taxi requests as well. We did Hammersmith Odeon one night, and there was some woman was looking for a cab to go to Dulwich or something. And we really thought the sound guy was just messing with it. It wasn't, it was real. Now the heart bit. Sympathy vote before I play, so okay. Aha! What's I do with this microphone? Very strange holding a microphone. It's really weird. Ooh.
Two guitar players working together, could they pass the 11 plus? Check this, I think it's a cable. Back there.
We got one. Coming.
Absolutely good, isn't it? You know, this is a brand new amp for us, and to have it blow up in front of you, my heart died. Now it's on me, and it was the wiring the floor. My heart's better.
parts of Ireland is the UK.
It's the UK, not for much longer.
I'm in Scotland, and when I say, let's be very clear, I'm not in England, they start cheering.
Yeah, you're not in England if you're in Scotland, but you're still in the UK.
Okay, so
And Northern Ireland is like the UK, but Southern Ireland, which you don't call Southern Ireland, you call Ireland.
so this is UK beer, not England beer.
No, that's not right.
Can't you understand?
No! Obviously not!
That's English-Irish beer. Tastes different in Ireland, that Guinness, doesn't it?
It's sweet.
You like that?
Yeah, it's not bitter at all. It's very sweet.
You said to me, I don't drink anything black, even coffee.
It doesn't taste as black as
No.
black as it right?
I'll work that one out tomorrow. Sorry. You want to
Whatever you want to do.
you do that? This okay. Just a woman told my mother before I was born, you got a boy child coming, gonna be the son of a gun. It's gonna make pretty women jump and shout, and the world's gonna know what it's all about, 'cause you know I'm here. Everybody knows I'm here. Well, I'm a hoochie coochie man. Everybody knows I'm here. I got a blackjack home. I got a mojo too. I got a John the Conqueror. I'm gonna mess with you. I'm gonna make you, girl, lead you by my hand. Then the world's gonna know about the hoochie coochie man. You know I'm here. Everybody knows I'm here. I'm a hoochie coochie man. Everybody knows I'm here. $700. Don't you mess with me, 'cause I'm here. means they're watching what time it is. They didn't take friendly to the fact that you had to wait in the restaurant to come in. Did you notice? We were having dinner, so they sold tickets to watch us have dinner.
Is there really a curfew?
For music, there's about 15 or 20 minutes.
Well, we've done it in 7. And then we're going to drink. What? There's no, so they'll forgive us for standing in the bar if we order alcohol from them. I mean, the guy does have a hat on, right? You guys see the same guy he's saying? It's funny over here.
That's a bit vintage too. Huh? Every time I sing this song when he's around, I think of the rehearsals for one of the PRS experiences. And the rehearsals were in his living room in his house. But it was always a very decent get together with some great musicians, friends of yours. Yeah, it's really, really nice. So I had a request from a very dear lady friend of mine to play this song in the house, and I always think about it every time I do it. So. Yeah. What do you call them?
The future ex-Mrs. Smith?
The future ex-Mrs. Smith, yeah, that's it.
She didn't take my name, so I can say that.
Well,
actually, I was paid a huge compliment with her.
Oh.
Somebody said one of the two is going to bury the other one. One of the two is going to bury the other one. And I was a little offended until I realized it was a huge compliment. In other words, we're going to make it to the end.
Yeah.
I actually, you know, one of you two is going to bury the other one, which I can probably say about you and your wife as well.
I hope so. Don't take that the wrong way. My daughter is here to report back, so I No, you're right. No, you're right.
It's a compliment.
Yeah. People they probably say the same to yours all the time. They say, where are you going? Always going to America, or I'm going to Germany tomorrow. And they always say, it's strange, are you going with him? And they say, what does your husband do? He says, oh, he's a truck driver. You know? So are you going with him tomorrow? They think this, everybody seems to think it's, this great glamour. Well, the book tells you all about it. It's not that glamorous, but in other words, it's great, don't get me wrong, it's been very good to me. But it's not, it's airports, hotel lounges and rooms and backstage, isn't it, Paul? But I'm not knocking it. Right. But,
It's somewhere between wonderful when the gig is on and lonely and quiet the rest of the time.
Yeah, I think, it's pretty, you played with a few thousand people and an hour later you're alone in your hotel room thinking about the next one. But there are other bits in between. Got some drum stuff going on down here, it's great. I don't know where I'm going, but I sure know where I've been. Hanging on the promises and songs of yesterday. Made up my mind
walk along the lonely street of dreams. Here I go again on my own, down the only road I've ever known. Like a drifter, I was born to walk alone. I made up my mind, I ain't wasting no more time. Here I go again. Here I go again. Here I go again. Here I go. Here I go again. Thank you.
Did anybody have that experience? It's just an anthem. And there's a little money too.
Yeah.
2 movies yesterday took it. How many movies now?
Oh.
This thing's off. You can't
Yeah.
hit
There it is, it's back. How many movies now? It's been in like a dozen movies. Oh, more than that. It gets put in all sorts of things. And a really cool one last year, a guy, they write to me, they send me emails now, usually from Los Angeles or somewhere. And David and I, we have to sign stuff off for them to use it if they want to use certain types of the track. And you go from lots of extremes from a big movie like Rock of Ages with Tom Cruise, which pays a few of my wife's bills. And she loves Here I Go Again. It's one of her favourite songs. And we got a request from a guy in, I think he was in Austria or Switzerland, and he loved the song and he wanted to use some music for it. And but he had like no budget whatsoever. So the publishers and stuff, they said, oh, we don't really want to approve this one, but I'll let you know. And I had a look at the video. He'd spent all his money making a video, and he was a snowboarder. And he'd made this fantastic short film in slow-mo and HD and stuff. It was really good. So I said, yeah, okay, then do it. Okay, I said, but the money is like minuscule. I said, yeah, but it's a great film and he loves the music. From that one thing he did a couple of years back, 3 movie directors saw that short film and booked into their mega movies. So sometimes you have to be clever. It was just a really sweet film, Well, what's the difference? You're going to do that. And then Walmart took it afterwards in America. You know what Walmart is? Yeah, good old Walmart. You saw that. You called me. You saw the
I
ad.
called you. It was being played. But the also thing, somebody wanted to do it for male diapers. Here I go again.
I told you not to tell me.
Well, they didn't allow it, right?
Occasionally, we said no. It was
come on, man. We're talking about
it's
an
on the
anthem.
internet. All the phones will be out now.
So I'll tell you another.
And we said no because we didn't think it was right.
I'll tell you another anthem story. Paul Rogers gave me a gold-plated copy of Fire and Water. It was never gold in England. It was only gold in the States.
Right.
And they didn't have a copy. And I had an unopened copy with the cellophane, and I sent it, and they gold-plated my copy.
Right. That's cool.
And I got one of those, which is another anthem for this country. That all right now and all those tunes.
So Here I Go was everybody. Well, not everybody, because there are people here tonight who remember. I mean, he was top 10 the first time around in England, in the UK. Sorry, in Scotland, I'm not quite sure. Anyway, I get stick for that. And then it went this mega thing in America. And I got a thing just before Christmas last year where it reached 4 million airplays in the United States. So that's pretty good. But it is like an anthem. I think. You're right. I go over there, and my eldest daughter was over there a couple of weeks ago, and she heard it in 2 airports. So I'm
watching you wherever you are. It's good. You all got to give a big hand to Marie Marsden for coming. We started an argument when I came in, and somebody very graciously pitched in with the argument, which I very much appreciated. And let me tell everybody what the goal of the argument was from my point of view, just for a second. It's hard to figure out what you're going to spend your money on, and hard to figure out whether what Fender knows about what's going on now and what was going on, what's going on with Gibson, what's going on with Ibanez, what's going on with Martin, Taylor, all the things you would buy guitars. My hope from the argument is that you would make an assessment that if I knew what I was talking about, or it made sense to you, that maybe trying one of these guitars would be a worthwhile experience. That would be my goal. Now, I think a lot of people in this room probably own PRSs, and one of the reasons they're here, but there are also lots of people here that don't own one. So how many people here don't own a PRS? All right, so those are the people. That's good. No, that's exactly. I'm preaching to you all. So if I know what I'm talking about, maybe I'm injecting that knowledge and that teaching into my business and into the dealer base and into all the stuff that we do. We don't try to sell a brand. We're not trying to be, just a brand. We're just trying to be guitar makers making guitars. And it's the one piece of meat on the table a lot of the other guitar makers aren't picking up. Although your friend who made the steel guitar, he's picking that piece up. He's saying, I'm a guitar maker, right? But a lot of other companies are saying, well, we're just making copies of what we were known for. And we're trying to push the envelope and push and push and push. And we did a video today on the new SEs with the new tops on it and the reclaimed wood stuff that we're doing, which we sold 700 of in one day. And then I'm pressing on this guitar that I bought for myself and all the other stuff. So really the goal is you're going to make your minds up about what stuff you're going to spend your money on. And nobody spends their money willy-nilly, as we say in America now, anymore. You do it for a real reason, because you want some experience from that piece of gear that you wouldn't be getting from another piece of gear that you have. So, and my hope is that some of the stuff that we call it standing on a soapbox, do you know, saying for standing on a box and announcing to everybody what your views are. I soapboxed it around those issues in the hopes that you would make a decision that maybe possibly we knew what we were talking about and you would give the guitars a try. That was what the whole goal was. So, Lee, thank you very much for having us. Thank you for being here. So, how many people here brought guitars they want signed? So, where are we going to do this?
I'll set you up a table on the void.
Okay, I want 5 minutes to hit it. You guys call it the loo, right? Yeah, I've got a drink. I've got this Guinness. That's a food group. Jameson's going to be the food group tonight, right? So thank you so much for coming. I hope now, I promised that I would ask you at the very end whether you enjoyed this. You did. You're not just saying it. It's okay. Are you good? See, very good. All right, so from the bottom of my heart, thank you all for coming. I hope you had a good time tonight. I hope there was some